Hey friends, welcome to today's video. Today is going to be the greatest day of your life. Let me ask you a question, or rather a series of questions. This time last year, what were you doing? What kind of person were you? And what are you doing now? What kind of person are you now? Now, why am I asking these questions? Because we've been working together on personal growth, and if there's anything I know about personal growth, it's that it often happens in such small increments that we barely notice it. It's different from physical growth. Remember when your mom used to put marks on the doorway to mark your height as you grew every year? Personal growth is different. It's intangible. And to make it even harder to detect, you're the one right in the middle of it. It's hard to step back and see yourself from another person's eyes now, isn't it? So it's hard to tell when we're making changes. But as we change, our life circumstance should be getting better. And to make it easier, I've identified a few signs for you that you can look at to be able to see if you've been changing as we've been working together. Now, are you becoming more choosy about what you spend your time and energy on? Time and energy are two resources that the young really don't think about conserving. They got lots of it, so why would they, But let me add the young and immature, because unfortunately growing older isn't a guarantee that you'll learn to conserve your time and energy. I know people in their 50s that still don't know what they want to be when they grow up, and in my opinion, they spend a lot of time still chasing the wrong things. So what's a better measure? I believe maturity is an excellent measure. No matter how young you are, if you've figured out how to spend your time and energy and that they're both not limitless resources, you are working in an appropriate way, and that's a very good sign of personal growth. So what exactly does it look like? Learning to say no to things that no longer serve you. Setting your boundaries and being firm on them. Knowing what your values are and acting based on those values. Actively seeking growth and learning opportunities. Practicing mindfulness to be present in the moment, living for today, the now, and identifying your distractions and avoiding them proactively. Now, if you see yourself in any of those, you're growing personally and you're making changes, and these are all positive changes. These are positive things that you're observing in yourself. Keep walking down this path. We're going to get to the goals, dreams, and desires that you want most. Are you handling conflict better? This is a big one. This is closely connected to my previous point, because you're now more mindful of where your energy goes. You can handle conflict better now. I'll give you an example. Several years ago, any sort of disagreement would either make me super defensive or worse, absolutely offensive. I would never back down. And if the argument wasn't going my way, I'd go on the offensive, and I hate to say it, but I wasn't above throwing in a below-the-belt jab. I did not like losing when I was younger, and this is something that I've had to work on over the years. But now I approach conflict more constructively. I've worked on identifying my triggers, and I also have an internal script that I'll walk through beforehand to calm me down when those triggers get triggered. One of the things I do is the thing I recommend to you. I'll step away from a situation where it's negative or where conflict is expected, take a few deep breaths, get out my goal card, and I'll read my goal card over and over and over again till I've refocused my mind. I run back through the script of what's going on. Then I make an active decision. I think, do I want to go back and re-engage in that conversation, or do I want to move on to something that's a little more a little more productive and a little bit more in relation to the way that I prefer behavior to be. And if people are just off the hook and they're going crazy, you know what? I'll step away from that. Refocus myself. I'll worry about me. You need to worry about you. And then You just go somewhere where you can be alone, relax, and step away from those circumstances. And I've realized that so much energy that I was utilizing and trying to win, but not realizing that, yeah, I might be winning, but my relationship was ultimately losing because of my stubbornness. So when I realized that, I just started handling conflict a little bit different. And I tell you what, if you detect that you're handling conflict in a different way, it's a good identification that you're growing and you're becoming better. You're developing a greater amount of emotional intelligence and you're moving in the right direction. Now, are you setting goals and achieving them? That's very important. We talk about setting goals all the time, but I've met people in the past. I said, what are your goals? And they don't have any goals. They're not setting goals. They're watching my videos, but they're not setting goals. And sometimes we get bogged down by drama and feelings of negativity, and that can keep us from focusing on achieving goals or even setting them in the first place. So if you've identified that you have the ability to step above that, set goals, and you're continuing to walk down the path towards those goals on a daily basis, it's an excellent sign that you're working towards becoming better and building a better emotional intelligence. You're growing, and that's fantastic. Are you taking responsibility? The old you might have been part of the blame wagon. I call it the blame wagon, but whatever went wrong, it wasn't your fault, right? It was either your boss's unrealistic expectations, your coworker, or maybe your spouse or your partner didn't support you enough, whatever it might be. But it's the blame wagon, and we need to get off that wagon. And when there's nobody else to blame, it's just plain and simple bad luck, right? I know that in my past, there was always somebody else to point the finger at and absolve me from any form of responsibility. But the me now and the you now are a far cry from that crap. That was a bunch of crap. Now we take time to check ourselves before lashing out. We now analyze what role we may have played in the situation, and what's more, we think about how we can make it better. Simply put, we've learned how to be accountable, and that's an undeniable sign of personal growth. And a huge part of that is because you're probably becoming more empathetic. Now, how does empathy figure into the accountability equation? Well, because you now have more capacity to imagine yourself in another person's shoes, you can be more clear on the consequences of your actions with yourself. And this is something I've noticed in myself as well over the years. I have to admit, in my past and when I was younger, I had a bit of a temper. I was motivated and nothing was going to get in my way. I was just going to get there. And that was part of that would be a problem for me. That's not a good approach to take. But I had dreams, goals, and desires. I wanted my life to be in a certain place. That's where I was headed, and I was on the train to get there. And I'm telling you what, if you got in the way of that train, I'd have knocked your ass off the tracks and just kept on going, because I knew where I was going. That train was going to get there, and I was going to be on it. But you know what? I'm more mindful now. I manage that behavior. And you know what? I don't utilize hurtful words or hurtful actions anymore to get to where I'm going. I've learned that partnership and empathy and seeing things from other people's eyes are the more appropriate way to approach things. And then also learning to let go. In the same breath, you're showing compassion by letting go of grudges. And we've talked about this in the past a lot, but growing as a person means realizing that we're all just dealing with life in the best way we can. And of course, being human, we're bound to make mistakes, right? And that expansiveness in us, the one that gives people and us room to make mistakes, is a real sign that we're growing. When we have the ability to see other people's mistakes truthfully for what they are, an actual mistake, we have the ability to step in, help them, lift them up. We have the ability to, support others in a more appropriate way. we're all going to make mistakes. Nobody's perfect, and we all have the ability to have a second chance as well. Some of us get a third and a fourth chance also, and that's just the way it works. We need to be careful in how we work with others. Sometimes people are only hanging on by a string, and you never know. You might be the string. So, we want to make sure that we're making room for others to make mistakes. And when we do that, that's a sign that you're growing as an individual. You have the ability to rise above, reach down, and lift others up and help them in a way that's going to make them better. And I tell you what, when you are holding a grudge, it just drains your energy, So there is no freedom in that. And there is tons of freedom in the power of letting go. And you walk so much lighter for it when you have the ability to just let go of these grudges, let go of the negative feelings we have towards others, and just continue to move forward. Because you know what? A lot of times the people that we're holding grudges against would be a fantastic member of our team in helping to move us forward. So look at people for who and what they are. Caring individuals, and sometimes people just need a chance. And sometimes it's a third or a fourth chance, but we don't give up on other people. Gordon Ramsay said something the other day to me that really kind of blew me away. I thought it was very, very, very interesting. He said, my brother has a drug and alcohol problem, and I think everybody knows that he does. And he says, we have put him in rehab 7 times. And each time he's come out and gone back to drugs and alcohol. And he said, but I don't give up on my brother. He said, I don't give up on him. I'm going to put him in rehab. I'm going to continue to work with him. I'm not going to give up on him. Don't give up on people, even if they continue to make mistakes. Maybe they haven't learned the lessons that you've learned, and they need a little bit more time to assimilate what it takes to build a better, higher quality of life. Help them, work with them, but don't give up on them. And if you're becoming that kind of a person where maybe before you just would have walked away and said, screw it, I'm not dealing with that. That's too much trouble for my bubble, But if you have the ability to step in and actively work with others, build them up, even when they're facing circumstances which may or may not be ideal for you, you're growing as a person and you're becoming better. It's something admirable to look to. You can look at yourself in the mirror, hold your head high, smile at yourself and say, you know what? I'm doing a good job and I'm worth it. And so are they. And I'm not going to give up. And maybe you're becoming, part of that is also becoming less concerned at what other people think. And it's strange, but when you become more concerned with how people feel, you become less concerned about what others think. Let me say that again. While you become concerned with how people feel, you've also become less concerned about what others think. You're an individual, you're unique, you're beautiful, you're amazing. And you know what? Because you're rising above, you don't have to worry about the thoughts or opinions of others and how they feel about what it is that you're doing. You're doing the right things. So you need to continue to move down this path of doing right. It's your dreams and goals that you're working towards, not theirs. They don't understand what it is that's going on in your life and in the world or even in the universe as things move into place so that you can realize your dreams and goals. They don't have anything to do with that because you know what? They're living in their world with their goals and their dreams and they're working on that, hopefully. You just worry about you and what you're doing and forget about the crap. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one and sometimes they stink. Don't worry about the opinions of others. Just keep moving down the path that you've devised for yourself that's appropriate for your dreams and goals, and just keep moving down that path. That's where it lies. That's the success. That's the success formula. Forgetting about what's going on in the world around you. All that crap where people say, oh, that can't be done. That's not going to be done. You know what? They thought that lighter than air or heavier than air flight was impossible. The Wright brothers proved that wrong. They thought that going to the moon was impossible. Wernher von Braun proved that wrong. So many people have proven that things that others thought were impossible are actually, in fact, possible. You can do the exact same thing. When others say it's not possible for you to do something, you can prove that you have the ability to do it and that it can be done. And then you're the one sitting there enjoying the benefits of what you've accomplished. And if you used to worry and make choices based on other people's expectations, you're now listening more to your inner compass, to what truly makes you happy. The world's opinions be damned. I'm telling you right now, and I think I've kind of beat that one into the dirt here. But I'm going to tell you what, if you're more self-assured, you're growing as an individual. And this was one of my personal markers that I was quietly growing. I just found myself growing less and less, or I found myself as I was growing, I was less and less interested with people's opinions about me or my life choices. Because I grew up in an environment where it was we can't do that type of attitude. I grew up very poor. I grew up in a neighborhood where others seemed to have more than my family did. I wore the clothes of all my friends. My friends' parents would bring their clothes, their used clothes, over to my house. I was the youngest kid in my class, so I was one of the smallest, and I would be able to fit into their clothes. I didn't get new clothes until I think it was 14 or 15 years old when we started going shopping for clothes. But up until then, my mom thought it was perfectly appropriate for other people to give us things and for us to live that life where, we just lived based on gifts that others had given us. It's not the life I wanted. I changed that for myself, and I became different than my upbringing. You can be different too. You can change that, and I hope that you see in your life that as you're growing, the opinions of others just seem to matter less and less. It's not that you're not empathetic, or it's not that you're uncaring. You just know where you're going, and you know that if you want to change your life, you need to make different decisions for yourself. And other people can't change you, only you can change you. And it's funny, I talk about other people, but, when you're quietly growing, one thing you might notice is that your circle of friends starts to shrink. And you might even see it as a sign that you're going backwards. You might think, we're supposed to make more friends, not less. I'm supposed to be building more connections with the world, so that other people can help lift me up, but not quite. And I'm going to tell you what, it's important to be friendly, but it's even more important to have a solid, positive circle, even if it's only made up of a few people. That's more important. And sometimes when we lose people in our lives, it's not always a loss. Right now, we may not be able to fathom things without them, but with change, sometimes comes the loss of negative people in our lives, people that have been holding us down. We may not even have realized it. We need to weed out those toxic relationships and negative influences. It doesn't happen overnight, but when it does happen, it shows real growth because it means you're prioritizing quality over quantity. And as with anything else in life, quality is always a wiser choice. And do you find yourself maybe, speaking of wise choices, I was thinking personal growth also means knowing how to take care of yourself. And we've talked about weight loss and exercise and, taking our vitamins and choosing quality ingredients, to feed our families and our bodies, and I used to think of self-care as a selfish and unproductive move. I'd feel tons of guilt for even wanting a massage or a quiet afternoon to myself because I was so busy, I didn't take time for self-care. I didn't realize that it's appropriate for me to say no to others so I can say yes to myself. That's perfectly okay. You know what? That is nothing to feel guilty over. You just have to realize that of all the roles you juggle, it doesn't mean that you should forget who you are as a person, and it doesn't mean you should forget to take care of yourself. You just need to be all about balance, and when it's time to take time off, take it. If you need it, take it. Make your boundaries known and pay better attention to what you eat and how late you sleep, and make sure that you're running on a schedule, that's helping you to quietly grow as a person. You know what? And I tell you, over time, if you take care of yourself, it's going to show. Your skin will glow. And when you're drinking enough water and you're eating high quality ingredients, you're skipping the fast food, maybe you're exercising a little and losing weight, you're going to feel great. And the greater you feel, the better you think. And when you're thinking good, you're making good decisions. And you know what good decisions equate to? A higher quality of life. And that's what we're working towards, right? And I tell you what, it's something that if you're becoming more self-aware, not many people can say that. And if you feel a desire to improve, you know what? Most people will say, hey, I'm as good. What's wrong with me? There's nothing wrong with me. I'm doing great. But then you look at their life and they're in debt up to here and they don't really have any goals, dreams, or desires they're waking up for every day that's driving their ambitions. And working towards creating a quality life is just not something they're interested in. If you know those people, you know how they live. It's just hard for them to look at themselves through other people's eyes. And it's hard for us to approach others and say, hey, your refrigerator's empty, your kids are hungry, all these things are going on that we may see going on. Remember that as we grow, we're setting a good example for those. And so people will see that you're changing, that your life's getting better. Maybe they'll see your new car or you just bought a new house and they'll say, hey, what are you doing? What's changing? And you can explain to them with enthusiasm, hey, listen, I'm setting goals, I'm working on things. I'm watching this guy on YouTube named Doug Vandergraph, and we've been working together towards building goals, and he's helping me to understand a process that I need to work through in order to achieve those goals on a consistent basis, one after another, over and over and over again. Friends, if you can identify with anything that I've just spoken about, you're quietly growing as an individual. It's a huge accomplishment and an amazing feat. Keep moving in this direction. Do not give up. You can do it. If anybody can do it, you can. And you know what? You're worth it. And as things start to change, you're going to get a little more excited. The happiness and the energy is going to build inside of you. You're going to utilize that to help others and to be a better member of our society and to help lift others up. And I know it's going to be so wonderful. And you know what? I'm proud to be working with you because you're worth it. You're amazing. Listen, I care about you. I'm going to be back tomorrow with some really amazing stuff. Let's keep working together. And you know what? Let's decide right now that today is going to be the greatest day of our lives. We can do it. So can you. So can I. I'm not going to quit. I'll see you tomorrow, friends. Have a great day.